Alright, hello, how's it going? We are gonna be doing some new stuff today. Really good, really exciting. Whoop whoop whoop. It's gonna be Happy New Year, by the way. Some melody analysis and some harmony analysis, and most importantly, it's gonna be of Aurora. Now, I am intending this to be relatively accessible. It's very easy to do melody and harmony stuff and make it totally inaccessible, because there is a grand literature built up, especially around harmony, that goes, these are the things that work with this kind of thing. By the way, apologies, I have done some stupid things to my beard. They will no doubt be gone soon, by the next time you see me probably, but for now we have some rather upsetting stripes in it. Yeah, that's irrelevant though. The important thing is, yeah, I'm trying to make this accessible, which means I won't be talking a lot about function of particular things, harmonically especially. We will be talking more about expectation, basically expectational models of things. So having listened to Aurora, what do we know happens? Well, already we know stuff about structure and texture. We tend to get a little bit of polyphony, which plays into melodies quite a lot, because polyphony is all about having several melodies at the same time. So that may well come up. We already know that that is a thing from time to time. We also know about counterpoint, where we have one melody that takes over from another or plays at the opposite time to another. So if you have like ba da 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 da, and then as that ends da da da, the next one comes in da 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 da, something like that. You know, so we got one melody, it stops, then another melody takes over. That's counterpoint. That's going to come up. Otherwise, we're trying to just take a straightforward look at the music from a melodic, i.e. the tune perspective, and a harmonic, i.e. a chords perspective, and we're not going to be prescriptive with that. We're not going to go, this is a bad way to use this is not a good melody, except if I feel like I actually really don't like it, in which case I will say, but have a caveat with that anything I say which is subjective, not objective. Not what we're trying to do here, which is come up with an understanding of the things to expect, an understanding of things that might happen. This is easy when it comes to harmony, because well, frankly, Aurora doesn't do so much with harmony in comparison to what she does with melody. This is actually true almost of everyone. Harmony is more of a sort of closed case thing. It's a much more recent development in music, actually. Harmony, as we understand it, with chords and you know, this kind of vertical understanding of things, all the notes happening at the same time. The models of that really only date to, well, maybe at the earliest the 14th century, and there were people experimenting with it earlier than that, but in their own crazy ways. And really the 14th century, everything was, you know, everything was fine. You could do whatever you like as long as it was fun. That's a little lower than normal. Sorry. Hello? Hello? Oh, that's really loud. I don't know what to do with that. So harmony is something that hasn't really been around in music for a very long time. Nonetheless, it has become a really important part of modern music. It's simple though in comparison, is what I'm saying. As far as melody goes, there are thousands of different things we could talk about in terms of melody. I'm going to limit myself, or attempt to limit myself. My eyebrow looks like hardly there. Must be the light. I'm going to attempt to limit myself to looking at melodic contour. So this is the idea of, you've got a melody, we'll be looking at lots. Does it go up? Ah. Does it go down? Ah. Does it go up and down? Ah. Does it go down and up? Ah. Okay, and does it maybe do a mixture of both of these things? Ah. Whatever. Okay, these are melodic contours. One, just going up, ascending contour, pretty straightforward. Descending contour, doing the opposite thing. Going up and then down, I like to call that a mountain contour. Down and then up, a valley contour. And if it's going more than down and up and down and up and down and up, wavy. Most melodies, if you look at them on a really, really close look, they do da 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 da, you know, this kind of thing, which is on a close look really wavy. Ba da 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 da. Right? It looks like waves, but if you zoom out just a little bit, you see there's more of a mountain there. Ba da 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 da. And it was just whether we got there in a slightly circuitous route. So yeah, melodic contour is going to be something I talk about. I will talk a little bit about ornamentation. So this is adding little bits like what we had there. Da da, instead of da 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 da, we went da 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 da. So we added in extra notes, which are sort of notes on the way somewhere, or notes that are deliberately not on the way somewhere. Generally that's what those are. So those are different kinds of auxiliary notes. Some are sort of escaping, moving away from the general direction. Da 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 would be one of those, especially if we then follow it with a jump. So da 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 would be, instead of da 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 da, we're going da 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 da. Alright, so we're da da da, and then we're jumping up. Not to make this too complicated, but that's called an escape note or an échappé, and the other ones are generally passing notes. Da da da. So maybe we want to go da da da, and those are the like chord notes. We go da 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 da. So we fill in the gap in between, right, with passing notes. And then one maybe other thing I might talk about is like anticipatory notes, which are ones that come a bit early. Most importantly though, we're talking about the relationship between melody and harmony, because that is the thing often that makes the most musical, emotional connection, I would say, at least, being someone who really loves harmony. But we might have a slightly different opinion on that depending on who we are. But yeah, looking at if they match up, when they match up and when they don't match up, and what different sounds that sort of creates. That's the main thing that I'm interested in there. So a little bit about ornamentation. But there are other things in ornamentation that I haven't mentioned. We'll see if they come up. A little bit about contour. Syllabic versus melismatic is one other thing. So syllabic singing is when you sing every note to a different syllable, and sometimes you have lots of syllables on the same note. That's syllabic singing. Melismatic singing is the opposite. It's where you have lots of notes to one syllable. Generally, we get melismas on important words, and we get syllabic writing most of the time in pop music. But we will see what we have here, won't we? The one other concept to come to terms with before we start is the idea of a scale. And basically a scale is, well, really we want to talk about key rather than scale, but a scale is the notes that we expect from a piece of music based on the key. These two terms are sort of interchangeable, but a scale generally means all the notes in a line, and a key just means all the notes. Keys in classical theory are generally either major or minor, but that comes with a little bit of wiggle room. I would say that major and minor are 2 of 7 main keys, and we will talk about the difference at some point. I don't want to overwhelm you with information, but that's the basics. Keys generally have 7 specific notes. Some of those notes might not come up, but 7 that are basically expected in whatever situation we're coming in on. And the other thing about keys is that means G is the note that we start on. Okay, but G major and G minor, while they both start on G, they have quite different sounds. There's G major. Oh, and there's G Dorian, which I played accidentally, complicating things unnecessarily early. Yeah, well, anyway, that's some information about what we're doing here. I hope that it works well. I tried this last night and I got very bogged down very quickly, basically on the first 8 bars of the first song. So we will try not to do that this time. Here we are with a new view. Oh my, what have we got here? Puppet? Oh, I was expecting Awakening. Well, were you? That was silly, because when I started this series I didn't even know Puppet existed. So now that I do, we're going to start with Puppet, which is the earliest released Aurora song. And here it is. Lovely. We've got a few bits of information here. Key A minor. Yeah, great. Crotchet equals 92. Lovely. That means that basically the beats, which I've deemed to be crotchets in this piece of music that I've written here, it's not my composition, but it's my transcription, is 92 beats per minute. Okay, so the beats will be going 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you count 92 of those, it should equal the time span of a minute. That's what crotchet equals 92 means there. We've got a load of different staves here, not very important. What's important is this piano stave at the bottom here. Hello. Alright, we're going to have a look at that, but first, hang on, let me just check that it's still playing. It is, of course, not. I don't know what the bleeding problem is with the audio in this thing. I think OBS really hates the audio. It could also be Cobuzz causing the audio to be stupid. I've had so many problems with it, and MuseScore adds its own raft of bloody problems. It would be so much easier if MuseScore would actually just play the damn music, but it won't. So never mind, sod that. Bye bye MuseScore. In fact, no, we're keeping MuseScore, we're just not going to play the music through it. I accidentally just opened my emails. It's going well. Here we are then. Are you ready? Here's the first bit of Puppet, let's listen to it. Alright, great. So what we had there was quite unusual for an Aurora song. We had a melody focused entirely on an instrument. It's really rare that we get melodic material on instruments in Aurora's music, at least by itself, and especially something as complicated as what we've got on going here. But we're going to come back to this so I don't end up talking a massive amount about it straight away. We're going to come back to this part of melody because, as we know from having listened to this earlier and doing the structural analysis, this is the same material as we get in the chorus. It's just played in a slightly different way, and when we get to the chorus I will come back to this and talk about it. Before we do that, I'm just going to go through what chords we've got going on here, and this should give us sort of our key sense. When you're trying to work out what key something is, you try and find what feels like the most restful chord, and this music kind of is very helpful in that respect, in that by the end of the last one, I'm just going to change view here so that it's all joined up. When we get da 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 da, right? When we get that, we've ended on an A minor chord. It has the notes A, C and E in it, although we don't get all of those notes here. E, the last of the three, A, C, E, the last of the three in most chords is actually the least important. So we can have A and C just together and it still feels like the same kind of chord. If we add an E to that, just see how it changes. Right? Compared to very, very similar sounds. So that's what we end with there, and that therefore feels like our rest chord. It goes for a long period of time and it is very comfortable. So that's what we intuit is the key for this song. So that gives us a set of 7 notes based off that first note, A. A is our first note, and then we go in a minor key, B, C, D, E, F and G. Great. So we can build a chord off each of these, just like that minor chord, that A minor. We can have, well, B diminished, not going to come up very often at all. Diminished chords are like the third of 4 main types of chord, but major and minor are our bread and butter. Then got a C major, so that's the one built off the third note of the key, could well come up. D minor, that's the one built off the 4th note of the key. Then the 5th note of the key is E minor, the 6th is F major, and the 7th is G major. And then if we go back up again, we're back to A minor. That's just moving all those notes up 1 in the key. Okay. Our first chord that we start with is actually that 4th chord. It's the D minor. Okay. Now this would have a D, which is the 4th note, an F, which is the 6th note, and an A, which is the 1st note, because we go up 4, miss 5, 6, miss 7, 8. Okay, and 8 is the same as 1 because we've only got 7 notes, right? Makes sense? So those are our 3 notes for this chord. And by the way, most chords are made of 3 notes. But we don't actually get that F to start with here. We instead get the E at the top in the melody. So it feels a little bit more open, slightly more spacey than if we got something like that. That has a little bit more emotion to it in a kind of sad, romantic kind of way, but this feels a little harder, a little more a little more in your face, at least to me. That's more of a subjective reading of this, but see if you agree. And then in this bit, this is actually built off our F, so our 6th note that was missing in this previous one, we've now added it in here. Okay. Yes, you can take down the Christmas decorations, by the way. Thanks for adding that to the chat. Okay. Yeah, so it's built off the 6th, so then we get F, A and C. Do we have all those notes? We do by the time we get to the 2nd beat. There's our A in the melody. Okay, so that one feels a little more complete than the previous one. Then we get our 1 chord. Okay, Now this one starts with the third at the top. We've still got the main note at the bottom of the chord. That's the most common possible thing for chords, to have the main note at the bottom. It's not the only one. We can do things otherwise. Maybe we'll come across that. We sort of lose that third eventually, but we come to rest on the E that is the fifth note. Okay, fifth note of the scale, third note of the chord. Okay, so we're not feeling like a full A minor, but it's pretty much comfortable in the way that the D minor at the beginning wasn't. That doesn't feel quite as comfortable, slightly more aggressive. Then this one, quite comfortable. This one, pretty much straightforward, comfortable. And then this one is actually missing the third again. So it feels maybe a little more aggressive again. But these are just subjective readings. Basically all we need to understand here is that we have the chord built off the 4 at the beginning. So 4, then we go to 6, 1, which is the same as 8, and then back down to 7. Okay, and then, as is super common in music in general, this is a 4-chord loop. Well, it would be, but we cut it off a little bit early. 4-chord loops. We take those 4 chords, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we repeat those over and over again in the same order. Okay, but this time, by the time we get to the 1 again, we've decided we're just going to sit there instead of coming back down to the 7. I'm sure a lot of people might think about the function of that 7 and think that that means something important. Maybe it does. All I think about is that the 1 is our rest chord. That's where we need to sort of finish if we're going to do things normally. Okay, so those are our chords. We've got the 4, the 6, and the 1, and the 7. Let's see if they come up again. And let's go on to our next section. Okay, now how am I going to display this? We've got the chords at the bottom in the piano, and up above we've got, wow, 6 different lines of Aurora's music, and I've given time codes for each of these: 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute 25, 1 minute 36, etc. So we're going to see these coming up at different times. Why have I layered them over the top of each other, you might ask? Well, the answer is pretty straightforward. Every time we come back to the verse, we've got another line here. We start with a verse, then we get a verse 10 seconds later. Okay, the next time we come to the verse is, well, 50 seconds later than that, 55 seconds later. And then 11 seconds later, we get the next part of the verse. And then we wait another minute, even longer actually, 1 minute and 20 seconds before we get to the verse again, and then another 10 seconds after that. So we're getting 2 verse sections together, 10 seconds apart. So presumably there's nothing in the middle there. That's quite, well, 10 seconds is a reasonable time, but you're not going to get 2 different sections in there, are you? And we know we're not, actually. We've done the analysis on this. We know that we have those 2 verse sections, and then we get 2 later on, and then, unlike quite a lot of Aurora songs, we get a 3rd verse section here. A 3rd separate verse section with 2 individual sections inside it. So I've layered them on top of each other here so we can see minute discrepancies and details in the music for them. I'm just going to move it slightly higher so it's a bit easier to see. Yeah. Well, let's hear the first one and then we'll maybe follow along. I need to go back a bit. Here we go.
A dancing puppet doll made of wood. I bet you run away one day if you could choose to leave or stay. It's got a
Okay, so how I think about this, well, why not let's just think about it in contour to begin with. Ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da. Quite a small mountain, but basically a mountain. It's going up and then down. Ba-da-da-da-da. And then ba-da-da. Again, a small mountain. This one's slightly higher than the previous one, but we're getting the same kind of movement between the two. And then ba da 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 da. Well, that's more of a valley by itself. And then da 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 da. We get the same thing again. Two valleys connected. Da 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 da. If we want to think of that all as one, that's quite a wavy thing, isn't it? Ba da 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 da. I wouldn't tend to think about it all as one, even though it's all sung as one line. I think we've kind of got a valley there, and then a big descending thing at the end. Da 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 da. And what's nice about that ending is it gives us kind of closure. It finishes us on the same note as we started on, and that's the root note of the key. It's A. So it feels da 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 da. We're finished. Which is nice, a useful thing for a melody to do, but it doesn't always happen, and we'll see examples of when it doesn't. But it's nice to have those mountains, and then sort of inversions of that with the next half of it. We've got valleys instead. Okay, all relatively small range here. It's basically a fifth. So if we go up to the fifth note of the key and we go back down to the first one, that's all it is. Ba da 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 da. Not particularly high. And then what have we got for the second part?
Bring a touch to every bone. She's got him round her little finger, so she'll never feel alone.
Interesting. I think the word for this piece altogether is prosody. There's very big differences in the way that Aurora sings each of these verse sections, and it's based on emphasizing the lyrics, based on trying to bring those lyrics alive through difference. She could sing this in exactly the same way. She could go, he's got a string attached to every bone. She's got him round her little finger, so she'll never feel alone. But she decides not to do that. She goes, she's got him round her little finger, so she'll never feel alone. So the finger is not finger, it's finger. So she decides to keep it on that lower pitch for finger. So in comparison to run away one day, round her little finger, the difference gives emphasis. It's not clear exactly what the point of doing one note or the other is, other than that they are different, and therefore you get a bit of emphasis on that particular note, because on that particular word, because it's different to the previous one. There's also some really minuscule differences in rhythm that I've got written up here. I'm not going to go into them because they are so specific. I'll maybe just have a look at choose to leave or stay versus never feel alone, because we get a long choose, don't we? Choose to leave or stay, and then to is very short, and leave or stay are all relatively similar. But in the next one we get never, so the ne, which is the same note as choose, is really short. Never feel alone. And feel is also really short, which is interesting. Like feel, you would think important word, but we don't get that here. We get never feel alone. So alone feels a lot more impactful, meaningful, because of the length given to it in comparison to the notes around it. And never sort of feels a little more aggressive as well, because we're really singing that first bit fast. So there's lots of these minuscule things going on here, especially in this particular song, that make each verse particularly different. That said, he's got a string attached is actually very similar to a dancing puppet doll, so it doesn't happen every single time. But it's that second section of the verse where things really change a lot. Made of wood is not to every bone. There's really no contour to the second one. It's static. Every single note is the same, apart from two, which is sort of just thrown away at the beginning. To every bone. And as the verses go along, have a look at that second section and see how it changes. But right now, let's just talk about the chords, I guess. Chords. Well, we actually start with the 4 chord again. Wow, what is going on there? Why have we got sustain on? That's not meant to be on. Okay. Oh no. Has my keyboard started malfunctioning? Gosh. Okay, I'm going to turn it off and on. But, and it was smashed on. That seems okay. Alright, yeah, so we get the 4 chord again to start with here, like we got in the previous bit. So it's that D minor. And then the 7. Okay, so we don't go from the D to the 6 this time, the 4 to the 6. We go from the D, the 4 to the 7, the G. So that has quite a big difference, in feel. Okay, just bear that in mind. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference because we're still in the same key, but it sounds very different to the other option. Part of that is that they don't have many notes in common, but let's not get bogged down. 4 to 7, and then 1 again. So 2 of our 3 chords here are the same. 4 something 1. Okay, 4 6 1 the first time, and 4 7 1 this time. So we still end up in the same place there, but we've just used a different chord to get there. And then we have a 7 afterwards. So 4 7 1 and back to 7. So we've lost the 6 altogether, just repeating one of the chords. You're allowed to do that. No reason why you shouldn't. Now, does the melody contradict those chords, or does it go with them? A dancing puppet doll, puppet doll. Well, pa and pit are 2 separate notes. They're not in the chord here. So we're getting a little bit of extra information. Puppet doll with those ones. They're extra chord notes and not inside the standard chord. And then made of wood. Well, of is an extra note, but we very quickly come down of wood to a note which is in the chord. And that's actually what we do with Puppet Doll too. Puppet Doll. We go down and we fit in the chord by the final note. Okay? Okay. Made of wood. I'll bet you'll run away one day if you could only or stay. It's an interesting one because the main part, da 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 da, that just fits no problem at all. I guess we kind of have an anticipation note because we get on this chord, I'll bet you'll run away, and that's not really in there. Da da da. But then da 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 da, that feels totally fine. We're going between those 2 chord notes with a bit of passing movement. Right? But then we change chord over the bar, and we have a little bit of a different relationship with the same notes of the melody. By itself, choose to leave or stay sounds very finished, and if that was over a 1 chord, it would feel very finished. But because we've got the 7 chord instead, that final note is not a chord note, and it feels a little bit like we've still got some stuff to talk about here. Da 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 da. If it maybe went, choose to leave or stay, well, I don't know, that still feels unfinished in a kind of way because it's not the first note. But maybe if we changed the chord, choose to leave or stay, and we went back to 1, that would make it feel more finished. So yeah, a little bit of a tension there, even in what feels like a very closed, finished melody itself. What about the next time this comes up? He's got a string attached. Same deal. Extra chord notes coming down to the one that fits in the chord. But then to every bone, that's just straightforwardly sitting in. Anticipatory E, she's got him round her little finger, so she'll never feel alone. Well, that one again does the same thing. Doesn't even really, I guess it does delay on the chord tones. Never feel alone. But then we finish ultimately outside the chord. So that's interesting. Don't get bogged down. This is going to take me so much longer, I now realise, than the other analysis. Okay, and then we get our pre-chorus.
Oh, sometimes I wonder, did he go? But not to man, of course, his soul. Dreaming about Wonderland, wakes up and he's a man.
Okay, so this is actually back to the chorus chords. Sometimes I wonder, did it go? Not the man, of course, his soul. Dreaming about Wonderland, wakes up and he's a man. A little bit of movement in the bass, just passing like that, and there's a little bit of the sort of keys synth electric piano at the top there as well, just giving us a tiny bit of counter melody, but it's really not much worth talking about. We have a kind of interesting stress relationship here. In rhythm, it really starts off straightforward on the beat. Times I wonder, did it go? Right? Times I wonder, did it go? Right? The go is the first one, did he go, that comes off the beat with a stress. I guess we have he before that as well. Times I wonder, did he go? Right? Then we have this complicated, but not the man, of course, his soul, where all those main words, not man, course, his, soul, come off the main beats. In fact, soul is the only one that doesn't. Of course, his soul, we finish up together there. So we have a weird relationship with the beats there. Really, really syncopated, really off the beat. And this is, as you may be able to see, not always the case. The third time it comes up with a lot more on the beat, especially straight at the beginning. And of comes on the beat a bit more as well. So again, we're talking about sort of I don't know, prosody, making these things more exciting by variation in the way that they're said, in the way that they're spoken, rather than keeping them exactly the same every single time, even when it's actually the same material. Sometimes I wonder, did it go? You can see we do that 4 out of 6 times here. Let's ignore the 6th time for now. We do it 4 out of 5 times in the main thing, and the one in the middle, times I wonder, did it go? We just go a little higher on that last note instead of lower. But we've got a wavy contour here normally, and then maybe a valley thing that one time. That sort of makes more of the difference than it actually is. It's really just one note different there. And but not the man, of course, his soul. Again, we get those same notes, maybe not with that lower, but not the man. That's a bit of a throwaway note anyway, and it's really, but not the man, of course, his soul. Just going between those two same notes that we went through on Sometimes I Wonder, Did He Go as well. We do that 4 out of these 5 times as well, with 2 changes. One goes, but not the man, of course, his soul, and the other goes, but not the man, of course, his soul. So on these particular ones, I guess there's an emphasis on those particular words. I don't think it necessarily works particularly well, but it's an interesting decision to make each one different, and you will see as we go along that there are other songs by Aurora where we clearly have I would say clearly have copied and pasted performances into the second verse, the second chorus, because the prosody, the exact way that the thing is produced, is enunciated, is exactly the same from one to one. It's not really important. It's classic. It's really commonly done in pop music. It's rarer to have something like this where we have a variation each time. Same thing with Dreaming About Wonderland. Sometimes we get Wonderland and it's more da-da-da, and sometimes it's Wonderland and we get da-da-da, a little faster on da. And most of the time we do the same thing on Wakes Up and He's a Man. But again, we have an interesting stress relationship here. If we're thinking this is 1, 2, 3, 4 on these chords, Dreaming About Wonderland, right? Dreaming comes on the beat, but then bout of about does Dreaming About, which is a little strange because, well, I guess that's how we pronounce it, about rather than about. But really Aurora says about, Dreaming About, right? There's more sort of emphasis on the rather than the bout, and that's also indicated in the tune because we have slightly higher than bout. If we went Dreaming About, maybe we would get a little more emphasis on the bout, Dreaming About, right? I would say so. But we get Dreaming About, so we get emphasis on that higher note, the which is an interesting thing to do. And then Wonderland again comes on the offbeat, Dreaming About Wonderland, and land comes on the main beat, which is again an odd choice. Wakes up, then unfortunately we're on the beat, up and he's a man, but then da 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 ba da. More straightforward rhythm there. It's not ba da 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 ba da da da, which is a really strange rhythm for but not the man, of course. It's all wakes up and he's a man, da 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 da. That's a 3-3-2, an Aksak rhythm. Nice, straightforward, and that one pretty much happens the same way each time as well. So that's nice. Yeah, there's one where we get a melisma at the end there. Melismas. We haven't had many of those so far, have we? Interesting. So we've basically talked about the pre-chorus there. Let's have a listen to it and let's see if we can follow. Oh no, one thing we haven't talked about is which notes are in the chords and which notes aren't, which is interesting.
Sometimes I wonder, did it go nuts?
So in that, sometimes I wonder, times is there, wonder isn't, did it go? So we're starting in there and leaving. And then, but not the man, of course, is all same thing. Not the first note, the A, is in the chord, but then the next one isn't. Okay, so if we continued that going da 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 da, would be the same way with this A chord. The A would be in it, and the G wouldn't be. But instead, we go Dreaming About Wonderland, and we move up. We move from the A to the B. It's a small change, but it's kind of important. Dreaming About Wonderland, and we really emphasize that B, which isn't part of this one. Wonderland. So we can see at this very early stage, Aurora is not afraid of using outside notes that are not in the chords, extra added notes to these chords, which makes them a lot more spicy. And then wakes up and he's a man. Well, now the B that we're still on makes more sense in the 7 chord there. It sounds more comfortable. So yeah, we've kind of got two halves there, going between a chord note and a non-chord note, and then mainly staying on the non-chord note with a little bit of ornamentation around it, and then staying mainly on the chord note, which is the same note. So interesting how that note can resolve itself by the harmony moving. It doesn't need to go down by itself. It doesn't need Dreaming About Wonderland, right? You know, a lesser writer might do that. Dreaming About Wonderland, wakes up. It kind of resolves itself at the end there, wakes up, but that's just before we're going back to the same note and changing chords. So doesn't really feel much like a resolution. Then we have a bit of a pause, don't we?
Man, of course, his soul dreaming about Wonderland, wakes up and he's a man.
Yeah, very unconcerned with whether it's on the beat, that particular bit of melody. Let's see how this next one is different.
Oh, taking control over another man's mind, oh, taking control over another man's mind, oh.
Good. Yeah, so this one, not a lot of breathing space in comparison to the other ones. We've got taking control over another man's mind, or taking control. And there's in a second breath, over another man's mind, or taking control. And then we start again, the same kind of material. Slightly different things happening at the beginning of these phrases. We get, oh, it's pretty straightforward D for that one. Chord note of the chord we're on, so that's fine. We get similar kind of thing the next time, but we just come in early with take. Oh, taking control, right? Just a little bit earlier with that one. Yeah, and why not? Let's look through the other ones while we're at it. We got, oh, she's, for the third one. Oh, she's. So we get a lower note there, but pretty much the same figure. And then we get taking control, no problem. Then we get, oh, taking control. A little bit more laboured on the taking control. Slight melisma there in the fourth one. And then the fifth one, starting the third chorus, oh, you get a slide, which is lovely. Before taking control is pretty much the same, although held on. Taking control over a. So we join through that section. That's interesting. And then the last one, oh, taking control, is actually really similar to the fourth one. Cool. Little fragmentable difference. That main thing then, just descending, followed by a real big ascent from a low C to a high C, right? All the way through that scale. Now this is the pentatonic scale, which is basically where you take a normal scale of 7 notes and you take out 2 of them and you make it 5-note scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that sort of removes quite a lot of the emotional expression that is present in the scale. Makes it a lot more all-purpose. Yeah, used in huge amounts of music around the world. Those are all the notes we've got here. We've not got that dreaming about Wonderland note here, which is interesting. We've also not got the F, but we do get that in the chord because we've actually got the same chords. This is the chorus. We've got the chorus chords, the same as the beginning. D minor to F to A to G, A minor to G. So we still have that F there, but it's not in the tune. And the tune here, yeah, again, really doesn't necessarily care what chord we're on. If we're on that D, like we said briefly at the beginning. Oh, it's happened again. I think it's probably the amp. Let's just fiddle around with the amp a little bit. Yeah, that's cleared it up. Don't know why that was happening. Oh, okay. Is it actually the cable? How odd. Sounds alright. Might be the cold, I suppose. It's really cold at the moment. Yeah, something's definitely bugging it. Is it that little cow? Probably shouldn't be. Seems fine. Oh, I don't know. Not really important anyway. If necessary, I can just use a guitar. Yeah, so we had that downwards, taking control, and then this do-do-do-do-do-do-do. So that do-do-do, it technically does go down there, doesn't it? Da-da-da-da, and then it jumps back up again. That's one of these escape notes. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And then do-do. It's kind of like, oh, taking control. Oh, taking control. Same kind of thing. This one's a little less straightforwardly coming down. It could go taking control, coming down in the same kind of way, but Aurora elects to make a difference here. Taking control. 2 of the same notes and with a decent sized jump, a 4th jump. Taking control rather than taking control. Got the idea? and then that keeps coming down. Over, taking control over another man's mind. So this is a little bit more like a valley altogether, whereas the other one, taking control over another man's mind. You could see it as another valley as well. Either way, we're oscillating quite a lot between the higher range and the lower range, which is an interesting thing to do for a melody. It's got a lot more movement in it than the average melody. Still not melismatic, but we're doing a lot of moving through ranges on these different notes. Yeah, cool. And the only bit there that's a little bit different in rhythm, mind to take, another da ba da ba da 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 da. So up and he's a man, mind to take. Similar kind of rhythm. We do go fast over another man's mind. Okay, so there's a little bit of difference there. Oh, why not? Let's just go through it. Let's listen to the next bit before we talk about it.
Taking control over another man's mind, or taking control over his mind.
Yeah. One thing that I haven't accounted for in my tab here is that Aurora often closes words before they go on to the next one. So this doesn't really go, as I've written here, over his mind. It goes over his mind. So we close to his, just the s, and then go to mind. So there's a little bit of nuance there that's quite nice. Just thought I'd point it out. But yeah, the basic phrase here is pretty much the same, although we've got the rhythm from another man's mind. We've got that earlier here, over another man's. Okay, so we've got it on the higher phrase rather than on the lower phrase at the end, and maybe that's because the lower phrase is actually lost in this one. We go taking that's the same as before, but then instead of going control, go control, and keep on the same note, over his mind, and then a bit of waviness there. So it's a different ending and a different relationship, really. The another man's mind all day really feels like it's moving on, straight on, but here we come to a more full stop. Okay. Yeah, as we've talked about, taking control. Don't care about that da. That's a non-chord note. Da 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 da. Sorry, I was being a bit sharp there. Da, 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 da. Both of those non-chord notes. It's interesting having jumps to non-chord notes as well. Da da, making that chord quite a lot more lush than otherwise. Da da. Those are totally fine. Da da da. Again, jumping to a non-chord note, or it's kind of like an extension. If we were going to build another note into this chord, we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and it would be that fourth note, that's seventh. Taking control over stepwise movement to another chord note, but then keeping that on over another man's, just for a little bit of time there, but we get that kind of clash as we go over to the next chord there, another man's mind, but then we very quickly go to some more chord notes, and then it's pretty much the same in the second time, although that ending, taking control over, is really emphasizing that added note, that seventh there, lots of that, mind, and then we resolve his mind. Again, over the bar line, we have a slight, brief moment of clash before we move on. Okay, cool. Second verse. How long have I been going? Wow, an hour. Okay, wow. Oh gosh, this is going to take me so long. Okay, let's carry on. Commit.
The day of leaving her has struck his mind.
Okay. The idea of leaving her. So this time, instead of coming down da 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 to the chord note, we've got a bit of an echo of Wonderland, leaving her. It's on a different chord, so it feels a little more uncomfortable here. That's especially not a chord note here. That would make it an added 13 or a 6. Ooh, weird stuff. And then has struck his mind. Well, there we are playing with chord notes. So maybe it's like, leaving her, oh no, struck his mind. Oh, actually, maybe that's quite a nice idea. But we could also come down. For some reason it's not has struck his mind. Sorry, it is that. It's not has struck his mind. Why? I don't know. When he sees her come, sees her smile, da 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 da. Yeah, so this part, we haven't done this part yet. Let's listen to it again.
When he sees her smile, he's hypnotized and he can't leave her behind.
So this isn't the same kind of dips, these valleys that we had before. Sees her smile, he's hypnotized. So we're going da 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 down and then jumping back again, rather than da 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 da. We're going da 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 da, right? So it has the same notes, so it has this connection to the previous ones, but there's a different contour and a different relationship with those notes to the beats. So it really doesn't feel the same. That emphasis of the second D, da da da, sees her smile, is really specific and specifically different to the previous ones. Same thing afterwards, hypnotized, we get repeated D, and then we very quickly, and he can, we kind of make up the contour there, but it doesn't feel the same, does it, because of that elongated second note. Can't leave her behind, and then we even get an inversion on that last one. Instead of can't leave her behind, 5 4 3 2 1, we get can't leave her behind, 5 4 2 3 1, and it's just small differences, but it really gives a specific strength to those different moments. It's on a really microcosmic level here, and most writers don't have this attention to detail. Okay, fourth verse part.
Looking to his left, there's the door.
Okay, so again this failing to come down to the chord note here, to his left. Okay, I don't know, it's a difference again, isn't it? Add some emphasis to that. There's the door! We get a different note altogether, a higher note than we've got in this previous section here. We do come down to our most common note here, the D, but each of these has been different. Every single one is different this second section here. This da 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 or da 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 da, very, very similar, but each of these other ones, the only uniting factor is that D, and it occurs in different places in each of them. So really different thing every single time, giving specific emphasis to the specific words. Okay.
No need to try, tried it once before, and their bums hiding beneath the floor sometimes.
Okay, and that's fun because all the others have come da 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 da. We've ended on that A, and then we've had a little bit of time before we come in with sometimes for the next section, but this time we don't get that. We continue on longer. We've still got the same emphasis from the previous one, da 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 da. Okay, which is different to the first time. Ba da ba, and then this last quarter here, da 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 da, is different altogether. We haven't got the da 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 da. We've got something that is more static, with the floor, which is there's the door, repeated as well. Hard to tell exactly how much is deliberate here, but it's cool that that's repeated later on in the same verse. Yeah, that's our verse there. And beneath the floor, we do end with the same chord tones. Whereas normally we don't do that. We go da 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 da. We do the added note here, beneath the floor. We actually end in a more comfortable place. What does that do narratologically? I don't know, it doesn't matter, we don't have time. Okay, so there we had two of those variations. Did it go, but not the man? Okay, small variations.
Dreaming about Wonderland, wakes up and he's a man.
Nothing important there.
Did it go, but not the man, of course, his soul.
And there's the other one. But of course, his soul. And we feel a little more separation as well. It's of course. Normally we sort of elide those. Of course, his soul. But here it's of course his soul. So it's the close, that early close to s again, which really emphasizes the his.
Dreaming about Wonderland, wakes up and he's a man.
Yeah, interesting melisma there. That's really our first one, and she sort of seems like she doesn't really commit to it to begin with. Wakes up and he's a man. It's sort of half there, coming off the breath quite a lot, or off the support maybe. Man. Interesting idea. But it is, you know, it's the first one, and it's sort of beckoning towards having a little more fun as we go along. Let's see if that continues.
Oh, she's taking control over another man's mind. Oh, taking control over another man's mind. Oh.
Yeah, well, more fun, I don't know, but we're putting in a few more breath moments here. Oh is fun, and then taking control over another man's mind. Oh, taking control over another man's mind. I really like putting a breath in between the syllables of a word as well, and that's happened here twice. Cool. Okay.
Oh, taking control over another man's mind. Oh, taking control over his mind.
Yeah, taking control over his mind. Really similar to the first one here. Most things are exactly the same. The main difference is in that first O. Each time does something slightly different. Although we don't do another man's this time. We only do that the first time. And yeah, taking control over is really similar to the previous one, which was taking control over his mind. Okay, this time we have a little more empty space between the his and the mind, I think. At least I've elected to write that in, though I remember the previous his did close a little bit earlier. Whatever. Pretty much the same. Also, let's just note that this melody in the chorus goes higher than in the previous section. Sorry, I just whacked the microphone. They go higher than in previous sections, and this is a common thing for choruses. The higher, the more expressionate bit is the sing-along-y bit, whereas the pre-chorus here is very low in comparison. Basically, we go a whole octave higher in the chorus, and the verse is low as well, very specific on the words, which is another thing we don't tend to get in choruses. Okay, this time mind goes on a bit longer, and where does it lead us? It leads us into the instrumental again. This instrumental is pretty much the same as the beginning. It feels a little bit more well played, which I don't understand why that would be. Same chords. Now let's talk about this instrumental melody then, I suppose. Okay, it is the same. Taking control of another man's mind. Taking control of another man's mind. But mostly the main thing that it does is it adds ornamental notes. So we've got that escape note there, rather than... Okay? And that's way more elaborate, isn't it? That's what we call a turn, where we go up, down, down lower than we started, and back to where we started. That's a turn. Okay, so we get that rather than just 2 notes, we get 5. Okay, so it makes a big difference having those, but it still sounds very, very similar, doesn't it? Same kind of thing there. Repeated in octaves by the other thing. The weird thing about this instrumental section is that we get a little bit of vocal melody over the top, but a tiny amount. So we get over, and then we get over later on. Interesting choice. No, we did actually get a bit more there, didn't we? We got taking control over, which is interesting because actually that over doesn't happen like that in the chorus. We always get over, so it's interesting we get a slightly different one here. And we get a different ending too. It doesn't end like the beginning section. We don't get... Here we actually do come down to the 7 chord, and then we have this extended 7 chord that we get in at the end of quite a lot of these sections. It's at the end of the pre-chorus, and it's at the end of the chorus, and it's at the end of this instrumental too. This extra bar of not much happening. But what does happen over it is we get the beginning of the 3rd verse. So let's have a look at the 3rd verse.
When they were out to buy her wedding gown, she wanted nothing but the dress, over £100,000.
Yeah. Does she say she wanted nothing but the dress? Or does she say she wants nothing but the dress? I can't really tell. But these are the lyrics I got from Genius, so we'll take them as correct. Very similar altogether, isn't it? Her wedding gown. Well, we got a stronger note on her than we normally get, that low note. Her wedding gown. And that kind of acts as the final finish of this first one. When they went out to buy. Again, stop giving me crazy extras. Okay, I'm gonna shift over because this piano is freaking me out. Okay, so we get yeah, the added note there. Sorry, it's not on that chord, is it? It's that chord. Okay, the out to buy her finally finishes that that trajectory, that mountain. Her wedding gown. That's a big jump, followed by a little return, which is actually the most common thing for big jumps. Normally, if we jump a lot, like kind of how we had before, looking to his left, there's the door. We don't normally go, there's the door. We don't normally jump again after that. And we've done a similar thing here. Her wedding gown. We've come down after the bigger jump. She wanted nothing but the dress of £100,000. That's closer to the first two than the second two, isn't it? But very similar either way.
And what she wants, she gets.
Nice to have she gets. No particular notes on those. They're more spoken, aren't they?
Or she will cry.
Now this is an interesting one. Or she will cry. So we actually do go higher after that big jump. Or she. That's jumping from the first note to the 7th note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or she will cry. And then we go up again after that. So that's a really unusual musical contour, melodic contour there. And then
Hits the man with her umbrella. She'll continue till he dies.
Very similar, but I have to bring attention to umbrella, don't I? It's one of my least favourite moments, but it does have a lot of character, doesn't it? Having that shorter note on brel rather than umbrella. which would be boring, admittedly. Man with hair umbrella. It sounds very annoying to me. Never mind. Let's move on.
Sometimes I wonder, did it go? But not to mad, of course.
Yeah, so I think the did it go there is a little bit early. Sometimes I wonder, did it go? Rather than being sometimes I wonder, did it go? It's a little bit early. So there's quite a big pause after that before, but not the man, of course, his soul.
His soul, dreaming about Wonderland, wakes up and he's a man.
So interesting one. It feels like she's getting bored by this particular thing at this point. But we have dreaming, so we have a actually higher note on that first note there. Rather than dreaming about, it's dreaming about. Really small change. But that's how it is. And then we have this bigger pause. Dreaming about Wonderland. Where she actually stops singing before wakes up and he's a man. Interesting choices. But slightly different again. Every single one slightly different. Then...
Oh, taking control over another man's mind. Taking control over his mind.
What? This one's different. Taking control over... Well, this actually sounds more like the her wedding gown. Taking control over another man's mind. Taking control over his mind. This is just a different melody altogether, isn't it? It's nothing like Sometimes I Wonder. Apart from rhythmically, it's almost there, isn't it? It's still got its own feature rhythmically, but it's closer in that respect because it's got this ba da da da, right? 1 and 2 and feel to it. But yeah, we're jumping up a fifth, coming down one, up again, and then down a fifth, and then back up a fifth again. Da 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 da. It's very sort of classical. You might get that in a Bach suite or something like that. So like something like that. Something like that, I don't know. And you kind of therefore have your bass note T, and you have your dee being its own part. Some people would think of that melody as two separate parts moving separately. But seeing as they don't really move at this point, they just stay static, I wouldn't really care about that at all. It's an interesting contour for a melody anyway. We're going up suddenly, then having a little dip, and then back down again. An interesting wave, and we just repeat that quite a few times very similarly, and then we taking control over his mind. We go down to an even lower note, this low G, which is really low. It's really low, there's no two ways about it. Over his mind, and it feels really comfortable with that G chord that it accompanies as well. Okay, final chorus, sort of. Very similar to the previous one, and the only real difference, apart from that slide, is that we end on a different note, and it's a little bit later. So, taking control over his mind. A lower note, slightly more downbeat then, because it's a lower note, I would say. Then, what comes next? Pause. Yeah, I haven't really mentioned the keys, but they are kind of playing extra melody bits from time to time. It's just doing that over and over, isn't it? It's not really worth mentioning, I would say. Okay, what comes next? So this is the hook, isn't it? It's over the same stuff as the chorus, so I've written it over the chorus. Yeah, we've got two different lines straight away. One is ba da 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 da, and then the other is 3, 4, 1. Ba da do, ah, 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 ah. So we've got those going at the same time. They don't necessarily sound great played together by themselves, but in the accompanying chord, they make a little more sense, and that's because you have something to ground you have something to ground yourself, keeping a longer pitch going. Then that means that things that are moving faster over the top have a little more grace. They don't have to sound good together immediately to resolve it into our chordal comfort zone. And so this is basically a polyphonic section. Although these lower melodies are not particularly complicated, they still have a little bit to them, and it evolves into several different voices after that, doesn't it? Okay, so we get several different voices moving in tandem there in a really classically Aurora way. They unfold into this beautiful triad. This is the notes of the chord that we're on, and they're just played or sung in 3 different voices there. Then they move, so the chord stays there, and the chord of voices moves down, so we get this not only melodic single note aggression against the chord, but we get a whole extra chord moving against the chord there, which is really lovely, a really powerful kind of thing. Let's talk about that higher melody then. So well, it's always going to that C at the top, which isn't part of the D chord, but it's the added 7th note, so we can see it as an extension of the chord. Not too complicated, not too uncomfortable, but that first note is a non-chord note. So I don't know, it's very quick. We don't really need to care about it very much, but it's a nice way to start not on the chord and then going to a comfortable but new place to the chord. In the 6th chord, it feels slightly more comfortable, and we get 2 of the main pitches in the chord. Same thing on the next one, and then an anticipation note before we get to that 7 chord. Okay, so changing a little bit earlier there than we need to make that final chord really comfortable. Nothing much goes on in that 4th bar, which is a little bit sad, but we do get at least that extended chord noise. And then we get pretty much the same thing, but with more complicated chords underneath at the beginning from those voices. So you can hear they start, which is quite an intense chord to start on, because we get this whole minor 9 chord, 2 added extended notes, that C we've talked about, then we get the E on top of that, and then we don't even resolve that really, we go to G chord over that D chord, and even that one is then extended. It's only there where we finally come to full resolution. And because we've got all that chord non-resolution, it feels very thick and very lush, in quite an amazing way. The pitch that it's at is really where you want to be doing that as well. This is our sort of main hearing range where people speak generally, higher than where I speak. And so our ears are finely attuned to changes in there, and having all this extra information there, I think it's really designed for humans to be massively into it. Really nice then when it finally resolves fully into that last chord, I guess, as well. Okay, and then we're into our final chorus. Again, we do get taking control over the top, although I haven't written it in here because clearly I couldn't hear it when I was doing this the first time, which is weird. Don't want to go into what that says about my brain at the moment, but I can hear it now. It's there, taking control, and we have do 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 as well. So we have both the piano version, or well, the electric piano version, and the vocal version here over this last one. And you can hear how they don't quite sound the same here because they're not matching up. You can hear them both together, and you can hear how they don't quite match up, and that's quite nice. It's not something I would expect, and yeah, certainly not something that is common in music, to have two versions of the same melody played differently at the same time. But here it is. And then that final note, over his, wait for it, mind, a long time later, and it's actually a more resolved note than normal. Well, normally we would be on a 7 chord as well, wouldn't we? Over his mind. But here, like in the beginning, over his mind, we stay on the 1 chord, which is our rest chord, and it is where we would expect to sort of finish. But because we've been in the middle of a 4 chord loop, going round and round with the 4 chord and the 6 chord and the 1 chord and the 7 chord, if we then suddenly finish on the 1 chord, oh well, we didn't complete the cycle. That feels a little uncomfortable, a little sad. Well, there we are. That is our beginning place with this melodic and harmonic analysis. My goodness me, that took me long old time. I don't think I'm going to be able to do another one today. Yeah, I have other commitments, so I'm going to have to call it a day here, but let's just sum up with some interesting things that happened here that were against what we would expect from the general. So firstly, all the verses had different prosody, different ways of enunciating, and different contours, different notes sometimes, especially in that second section. Mostly the notes stayed the same, but they were played in different orders, and this gave different emphasis to different notes. The fourth echo of the verse, the fourth time the verse comes along, the verse section of material comes along, we continue it on into the pre-chorus, but normally we have a bit of a break. What was quite interesting about most of those verse parts is they chose to end on the root note of the scale of the key, while on a chord that doesn't use that note. So we had that intense inherent confrontation between the chord, which is unresolved, and the melody, which is resolved. What does that say? Yeah, narratologically, think about it. Okay, and then we get to the pre-chorus, and the pre-chorus is low and straightforward. Melodically, there's not too much going on there. Very syllabic. Lots of notes on the lots of word letters, syllables on the same notes, but a lot of out of chord notes as well. Sometimes they're just passing or auxiliary and they come straight back, and sometimes we really emphasize them, like on Dreaming About Wonderland really emphasizes the note that's outside of the chord there. None of the notes in this are from outside the key, which is something that's important to note. It's what we would call diatonic and that means that the 7 notes we have are the 7 notes that are used. It's really very possible for songs to use notes outside of those 7. We have 5 main extras in Western music, which depending on what your key is, they will be different, and depending on what your mode is, they will be different. Here we've been using the A minor mode the whole time. That's what we might expect. We've had a little bit of different emphasis on some of those notes, and really the F, we only used that chord in the verse section, in the pre-chorus and chorus sections and the instrumental sections. We didn't use that chord in the verse sections, so it's a little bit underutilized in comparison to the other 3 that we use, the 4, the 1 and the 7. And in the melody, we didn't talk about this because it's hard for me to sort of think about as I'm going through, but it's a really rare note in the melody. It's not in the chorus. The chorus uses the main 5 notes, 1, 3, 4, 5 and 7. 2 comes up very often. That's the B. That comes up in a lot of the main sections regularly. It's regularly in the verse, and it's regularly and almost deliberately emphasized, in fact entirely deliberately emphasized in the pre-chorus. But the F, where does it come up? It comes up like once. Let me find out where it is. It's basically in that. Oh no, in fact it's not even used in the. I feel like I am missing one, but maybe I'm just thinking of something else. It's not even used in the chordal part with the hook, with the unworded voices, which, by the way, all quite melismatic in that bit, isn't it? All very melismatic, lots of joining things together. So that's nice to be very different to the rest of the thing, where we have a huge amount of words. Interesting to change the final pre-chorus section to a different melody. Taking control. Very interesting choice. And it also has the words of the chorus just early, so that's a really interesting choice as well. Something you wouldn't expect at all. What's interesting about the chorus is its breadth of pitch. So we have over an octave's range in the chorus, so that's a little unusual. Also kind of unusual how we've got 2 sort of mirror phrases. Well, I wouldn't say mirror, but if you sort of symmetrical. So we go. It's kind of 2 V's, a W, if you will. Yeah, interesting how we have some extra vocals over the instrumental, a little bit unusual. And interesting how in the coda we get the instrumental melody and the vocal melody at the same time, and they're doing the same material just in a different way. That's a really interesting thing to do. Each chorus sort of ends in a slightly different way. Sometimes we get mind, sometimes we get mind, sometimes we get mind, and sometimes we get mind. So each one is different. That's nice. There's a lot of variation in the same sections. In all of these things, the chorus is the least variable, and so that probably promotes it being the most catchy bit. Didn't have too many chords altogether, 4 out of the potential 7 that we have in the key, and we can always use some extra chords as well using notes that are outside the key. That does happen from time to time. We'll get to it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Puppet, not one of my favourites, but like you see, still a lot to talk about. I feel like Herman Melville. Who is it? Who's the guy? I haven't read it. In Moby Dick, who once he kills Moby Dick, he then thinks, "Oh no, I now see the weight of my decision. I now see the unending impact of my decision. I've made a decision to cover all of these AURORA songs, and then to go on to do probably some other songs by other people in this format, and it's a big job. But at least this tells me that I don't need to do nearly as much tabbing out as I thought I would. I thought I had to do 4 each week. Well, that ain't going to be the case. I'll maybe get through 2 each week, and I'll set aside a little bit more time to do that. But I'm not going to try and squeeze this kind of thing into 2 hours trying to do 4 things, because clearly there's just too much to talk about in that respect. Now, let me know if this is easily understandable, if you need a little bit more familiarity with some terms, or if there is anything else I can do that will make it more straightforward. Please tell me if you think that I go over things too much, because that would definitely save me some time if I didn't need to say certain things. Yeah, if there's anything I can do to make this a little more streamlined, let me know. If there's anything that you need extra, let me know. This is the first of these, and yeah, I mean, very informative, but maybe a little too much. I don't know. We might have to cut down on the amount of things we're talking about, but I kind of don't want to. I quite enjoy the vast amount of things that are going on here, and what I love is that I have command of all this information, that I don't ever feel like I am saying things that I'm not certain about, which is true when I'm listening to a texture. I can't pull out every single thing that's going on in a texture. I do my best, and I do better than a lot of people, probably better than most people, but what I can't do is go, this is definitely all these things that are happening. But I can do that with harmony, and I can do that with melody, which is, it really feels powerful. And so if nothing else, I'm glad that you get to sit here and watch me be in my element in such a satisfying way for me. Anyway, less about me. Go out into the world and have a lovely day and a lovely night, and yeah, everything after that should be good too. Let's do some more of this sometime. It's been wonderful to see you. Happy New Year. Aurora!